Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Yes, it is Thursday. This is your Friday show. You get 3 shows a week. You're getting today's show early. Tomorrow is a travel day, and I just didn't see how I was going to be able to get it done tomorrow and then get down to Tulane at a decent hour. I got to get down and get checked in and pick up the credentials and get settled. And, of course, then we get settled, for Saturday. A big series coming up, and we're going to recap the weekend. I'm going to tell you some things that I've seen that, from our offensive approach that, are a little bit troubling, I guess you could say. The thing that I would point out, too, and I know it's easy to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm guilty of that, too. When things are going bad, it's like, oh, my gosh, the world is ending. The truth of the matter is, guys like Luke Hancock, Cameron James, Logan Tanner, they didn't forget how to hit. They didn't. People are pitching them a little different today. The game's playing us a little tough right now. You hear Chris Lamona saying that sometimes. But some of these things that are happening with us are a little bit self-inflicted. And that's actually a good thing because you can fix that. There's some mechanical things that we're a little bit off on. You can fix that. Jake Gautreau, one of the best hitting coaches in America. I know it's easy when things are going a little bit south to say, well, we got to do this, got to change this. It's not always that complicated. Baseball can be a simple game. It really can be. And I think there are some times that we need to simplify things for players. We really do. And, again, you got veteran guys on this team, and they're still trying to find an identity. But last night was awful. I mean, absolutely awful. I think about that, kind of the Bulldog experience yesterday. It reminds me of something my dad said years ago. Mama said there'd be days like this, but she didn't say there'd be this many of them. That's kind of how it was yesterday. Mississippi State, an embarrassing loss to Southern Miss, and that is in no way a reflection of the Golden Eagle baseball team. They're a very talented team. I'm not going to sit here and say that Mississippi State got beat by a better team. They got beat by a good team. Very, very, very efficient in what they did. They made our walks come back to bite us. Got to pitch better. Got to hit better. I think we all see that. And the truth of the matter is, I thought, probably pitching last night in spots was good enough to win. Other times it wasn't. In tight ball games, you can't issue a bunch of free passes, and we did. We talk about baseball being a simple game. You give people free bases, you essentially give people free runs. And that's what happened. And again, a tip of the cap for Southern Miss. They went out there and did what they needed to do. It's a big win for them. And again, this is a good team that'll be in contention for a potential host spot. Late. We'll see how things progress, but they'll be at least a solid number 2 somewhere. And again, it's a good program. It's a program that we're going to lose to occasionally. We had won 3 in a row in the series, dating back to that 1-0 loss against Ethan Small back in 19. But last night was not a performance that gives anybody any confidence. But I think at the end of the day, you go back and you remember the same coaching staff that won a national championship are still here. That staff's still here. And many of the pieces that won the national championship are still in the clubhouse. They're going to get it figured out. I know that, well, Steve, we've got this brutal stretch coming up, and that's true. This could be, in many respects, a stretch that basically decides if State is the top 8 national seed or not. And you'd say, well, Steve, you're being silly. This team has that potential. It's a matter of, unlocking that potential and winning some baseball games. Winning changes everything. I understand that today the Mississippi State baseball team will be at the State House. They'll be recognized before the state legislature, for winning a national championship. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it could come at a worse time. You've had a couple of very subpar offensive performances this week, getting ready for your first road trip, and then we've got, in many respects, kind of a, let's just call it a distraction, I guess. But maybe it'll prove to be a good thing. Maybe it's a reminder that, hey, you guys are a great baseball team, one of the national elite. Let's get it figured out. But it is what it is. But I want to thank you guys for your support of this baseball program. They're going to be fine. And the expectations here are unlike any others. I mean, let's be honest. We expect to be in Omaha every year. We have been 3 years in a row. This is a team capable of making Omaha again. And so when you see these things happen and there are some challenges, you begin to kind of doubt and say, well, is our run over? You start overanalyzing things. What about our recruits? And what about this? Guys, this team has a ton of talent. It does. This team is recruited among the nation's elite the last several years, and that's because we are a national elite. We are a college blue blood baseball program. There's no question about that. And I'm still very optimistic they're going to turn it around. If you go down there and you win the series this weekend, it's a much different feeling about the team. And, I go back a couple years ago, we were scuffling a little bit, and we go down to Biloxi, and we took a pair from Texas Tech and felt like we'd kind of righted the ship a little bit as we got ready to play Arkansas. And, of course, that series and the rest of the season ultimately canceled. But we can learn a lot about our team. And, the thing that I have learned, too, when you have guys that can change speeds and throw breaking stuff to both sides of the plate, when you can throw your breaking ball for a strike at any level, that is the key to the kingdom. You can't just sit dead red fastball. And we've got some guys that are elite fastball hitters. Well, they're not seeing a lot of fastballs because people are aware of that. And so you're going to have to learn to hit the other stuff. Cameron James, an elite fastball hitter. People are aware of this. They're not going to groove fastballs to him. Occasionally that'll happen, but by and large, people are going to mix it up. He's going to have to show that he can take that slider and dump it into right field. Not try to do too much, just kind of punch it the other way and get on base any way he can. And we need him to be an RBI guy. But right now, sometimes the best thing to do is kind of simplify the approach. And I'll be honest with you, of all the players last night that put on the uniform for Mississippi State, the guy that I thought had the best approach to plate was Von Sieber. One of our young guys comes up late in the ball game and just lines the ball right back up the middle. Again, doesn't try to do too much. Doesn't try to yank one out of the yard. And I even asked Simonis about this in postgame. From my own experiences, one of the things that I used to, kind of tell guys in pregame, hey, guys, you're not going to hit one out of here. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that from our possibility. Maybe you got a guy out there that, it's dealing a little bit, and you say, hey, guys, we're not going to take him deep. So let's keep our hands inside the baseball. Let's really fine-tune the mechanics and kind of lock in and work the middle of the field. Let's work gap to gap here. Try to put some balls in play. Let them make some play defense here. And I think in some respects that's probably what needs to happen. You go back and look at State's approach against Kumar Rocker last year in Game 3 of the NAFL Championship Final. That's exactly what we did. We didn't go out there looking to hit a bunch of tanks. We went out there to just try to, hey, we're going to just line the baseball into green grass. We're going to put pressure on him. And eventually he folded. We got some big hits later in that ball game to put it away, but the reality of it is we had a very, very solid approach, and Jake Gautreaux will get it fixed out. He will. I don't have any doubt about that. I got a lot of confidence in this staff. I got a lot of confidence in this team. We're not playing well right now, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. I mean, you all see the box scores, but more importantly, you see some of these non-competitive at-bats. It'd be one thing if they were a bunch of newcomers. But the fact that you've got some of your veteran guys that are scuffling a little bit too, kind of makes you think, okay, we're just kind of playing tough right now. We'll get it fixed. You don't think Luke Hancock can hit? That guy's a trained assassin. Luke Hancock will get it going. I have no doubt about any of that. I think those guys will get going. Logan Tanner had a couple of barreled up balls last night. We really didn't hit a lot of baseballs hard. And again, some of that is, kind of a tribute to them. It's their miss. They had a great approach, pitching-wise, and really attacked our hitters. And here's the reality of that. Until you prove that you can punish people for change-ups, a lot of breaking stuff, that's all you're going to see. Until you prove you can hit it, that's what you're going to deal with. They're not just going to wake up one morning and say, you know what, hey, State has really struggled with the change-up and the breaking stuff away. Let's go pound them inside with fastballs. Just not going to happen. Not going to happen. We're going to break some of that stuff down in the next segment of the show. Let's thank our good friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of the show. I love going there to eat. I do. I travel a lot, as you guys are well aware. I'm on the road a lot. One of the best things about being home is being able to go to Bulldog Burger Company. And home, it could be just about anywhere now in Central or North Mississippi. You can get Bulldog Burger Company, their fine cuisine. They're at Lake Harbor, I guess it's Lakeland Drive, in the Ridge and Flowwood area. And, of course, University Drive here in Star Vegas and Gloucester Street there in Tupelo. Just great people doing a great job, providing a great product at a great price. Great service, great atmosphere, everything you could ask for in a dining experience. you're going to find at Bulldog Burger Company. You can have an adult beverage. You can have a chocolate shake to go. Not a lot of places offer that combination of services. Be sure and go check them out today. You'll be glad you did. Have the pimentology add bacon that'll put a little hair on your chest. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, I want to thank everybody that came out at Trustmark Park. I was with the fine folks at College Corner. They were there, had a tent set up behind home plate, sold a lot of books, and had a chance to meet some of you guys. And we took pictures together, and we were friends. And then we watched a pretty bad baseball game for our team. So let's break the game down, and we'll begin to kind of look ahead. I'm again talk about some things that I've noticed. The thing that I would say too, I've said this multiple times. The first time through the order, they were putting the ball in play, and we really weren't. And when we were, it was kind of soft contact. We just didn't put a lot of pressure on them. And you just feel like, okay, I'd rather be the team that's hitting some hard ground balls right at people the first time through the order than being the team that's struggling to make contact. And that's what you saw last night. Southern Miss, even early on, was doing a really good job putting the bat on the ball, and we were struggling to do that. We start out 1-2-3, quarter strikes out on 3 pitches, and I thought that Tanner Hall did a great job of really kind of attacking Mississippi State with 2 strikes. There are a lot of people that they get in an advantage count. They want you to chase, so they'll throw something out of the zone. I thought Hall did a good job of throwing it just close enough to the zone to get the swing and miss. And right now there is a ton of swing and miss in the lineup. Quarter Ks on 3 pitches, and that's the thing. Who is going to hit leadoff? I think it really is. It's probably not the best situation for us to have Cam lead off. I think Cam needs to be a guy that has an opportunity to hit with runners in front of him. But we've got to find a guy that can consistently get on base as a leadoff guy. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's Tanner Leggett. I don't know. But I think at this point, that's one of the issues that we're having is we're struggling to get people on base at the top of the order. Cam grounds out to third, actually hit the baseball pretty well. And then Luke Hancock is out at first. Basically just kind of rolled over a ground ball to first, and they tossed to the pitcher. And that happened multiple times, not just to Luke, but there were a lot of balls that we pulled hard on the ground, basically for a routine play at first base. Montenegro singles to center field, and again, really barreled the baseball up. Ewing grounds into a double play. This is a great play by Luke Hancock. That ball was absolutely rifled towards right field. Luke makes the sliding play there, gets up, steps on the bag, and then throws to Tanner Leggett, who applies a tag. And while there were 2 outs there and you're happy to get out of that, it's pretty clear they were on Fristow. And then there's the fly out to left field. So it's an inning we get out without any damage. But if I'm Southern Miss, I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. It's like, hey, we're seeing what this kid's doing. All right, we come up in the second, and LT strikes out looking. Again, you get into a 2-strike count, and rather than fish, he went right at us and did a great job. He threw a split-fingered changeup and had a lot of good sinking action, which is one of the reasons we grounded the ball into the ground as much as we did. Hunter Hines comes up and really, really barrels one up. One of the hardest baseballs hit all night from Mississippi State. A single back up the middle, tailing away from the shortstop to the pull side. Diving effort there from him, just couldn't get there. And again, I think Hunter Hines is going to be a centerpiece of this program in the years ahead. Brad Cumbus then strikes out. And here's the thing with Brad, too. Brad, even in that expansive ballpark, is not going to see fastballs. He's just not. Nobody's going to make the mistake. When you got a guy that big, why groove him something in the wheelhouse and end up being on SportsCenter? And so that's what, when we get an SEC play, Brad Cumbus may never see a fastball. He strikes out on 3 pitches. And then Downs strikes out. And that's the thing. Aaron Downs, I think, is going to be a great player for Mississippi State. I don't really have any question about it. He had a really tough night last night. A really, really tough night last night. So here we go. We come up with a runner on, and we strike out on 3 pitches. And the thing, and I think this is kind of indicative of what we're seeing in the lineup, is our misses are really bad. When we swing and miss, at times we are missing really bad. And this particular pitch here that Aaron Downs struck out on, I don't know if he could have hit it with a garden rake. Honest to goodness. It was a breaking ball down and away, and we swing over the top of it. And even if we make any kind of contact, the best we can hope for is it's a foul ball. And so there are a few things you look at here when we look at this lineup. You got some guys that are putting the ball in play and just not barreling up. And some of that is a timing issue. Sometimes we're not getting our foot down in time. Sometimes, we're actually getting around the baseball rather than keeping our hands inside. And so what you want to do is have everything go forward. You want to work the middle of the field. You don't want to be up there having a noisy swing. And we've got some guys at time, even in preload, we've got some guys up there that are a little bit noisy. There's a lot of mechanism to all this stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on. I don't know if our head's not being still or whatever. I watch some of these guys, and it seems like we're just so anxious. And Chris even says himself, we're trying to do too much. We're pressing a little bit. And that is evident. And maybe perhaps having a day off today and kind of getting out of Starkville may allow our guys to kind of calm down some. But I noticed that with Aaron. I'm not picking on Downs. You've heard me praise him on the show. I think he is going to be an absolute star for us. He does make really solid contact. But last night, Southern Miss really kept him off balance and had him chasing balls down in the dirt. And again, some really, really big misses. And that's not something that's just unique to him. Okay, bottom of second. Again, Southern Miss 1-2-3 this inning. But again, it's one of those deals where they're putting the ball in play. You get a pop-up, you get a ground out, another ground out. Actually got behind some hitters here. That's a thing that I always look at. It's like, especially early in, why are we getting behind hitters? We get behind 2-0, we get behind 1-0, and then the very first pitch from McGillis is grounded out. But a 1-2-3 inning. Top of third, RJ comes up, and RJ is another guy too. I would say like Matt Corder, Downs, Yeager, they're kind of in the same group right now. They're really struggling to see spin. They're really struggling to see the breaking stuff. They're having a really difficult time laying off of that. And Yeager is a proven Division I baseball hitter. And I've had some guys close to the program tell me, and a couple guys in the program say, he is one of the best players on this team, one of the most naturally gifted players on this team, one of the most polished guys to play. So you have some confidence, say, hey, he's going to figure it out. And you can say, well, he's never seen SEC pitching. Well, nobody has this year. None of our guys have seen the SEC pitching. And, Southern Miss, that's a team Mercer and those guys would play, teams of that caliber. And so the game, again, is kind of playing RJ a little bit tough. I'm optimistic he's going to turn it around. Maybe he's not your leadoff guy, but I think it's just a matter of time. He led us in home runs in the fall. This is a guy that can hit. Leggett then hits a hard ground ball to third, and it takes kind of a tough hop. I don't know if the guy just didn't round it off or not, but it goes off the third baseman into center field, and that was an 0-2 count as well. We're getting behind. We go back and look at what Hall did. He's getting ahead of the Bulldog hitters. Just kind of going back and looking at this. It's a first pitch strike to Quarter, first pitch strike to Cam, first pitch strike to Hancock, first pitch strike to Logan Tanner. We get an advantage count with Hunter Hines, and we get a base hit. It's a first pitch strike to Cumbus. It's a first pitch strike to Downs. You get into the third. It's a first pitch strike to Yeager. It's a first pitch strike to Leggett. It's a first pitch strike to Quarter. It's a first pitch strike to Cam James again. You go out there and you pound the zone. You go out there and make guys hit their way on. And so you give Hall a lot of credit for really challenging the hitters and making them hit his pitch. But he was close enough to the zone that around the plate, they just simply had to offer. Cam strikes out 1-2, and that's the end of the inning. So we get the one guy on, reach on an error there. And so now we're in the third inning. So you're seeing the bottom third of this order here and possibly the top. You're seeing 7, 8, 9 from Southern Miss, and we get a first pitch strike to Paltau and then walk him. Then there is a single through the right side. Now there's runners at first and second, and you got the 9-hole hitter up. But what are you going to do there? I mean, that's just basic baseball. You're going to get a bunt down. That's exactly what they do. They get the bunt down, and they put the runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs at the top of the order coming up. And they made us pay. That's the thing. When you move guys around, we have struggled to get the timely hit at times this year. Southern Miss did. Montenegro triples to right center. He absolutely hammered this baseball into the right center field gap. Pretty much the same spot that Luke Hancock did a couple years ago in the Governor's game against Ole Miss. Just absolutely smokes this baseball. Now, again, you've got 2 runs home and another runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Ewing steps up, just knocks it right back up the box. Very simple approach there. Really like the way this Southern Miss team competes. Now it's a 3-0 game. Fristow bounces back, gets a couple first pitch strikes to Sargent and Lynch. And while those at-bats went a little bit deeper into the count, we get out of it down 3-0. And I would be honest with you, based on how they were swinging and how we were swinging, 3-0 felt like 5 or 6. It really did. It really felt like that we were well behind in the ball game. We come up in the 4th, and once again, it's first pitch strikes again. Luke Hancock strikes out, which Luke is striking out with greater regularity. But again, I have no doubt that he's going to get that turned around. You get a K here against a first pitch strike. You go at LT, and it's a single to center field, but again, it's a pitch right there in the zone, challenging the hitters. Hunter Hines again comes up, gets a first pitch strike. Then he singles to the right side. Now he's got 2 hits on the day. We got something cooking, right? Runners at first and second with just 1 out. Cumbus then reaches on a fielder's choice. They try to run the 5-3 double play here. Basically pushed off the bag and pushed the throw up the line. We don't make them pay here. Runners at first and third here, or first and second. And Downs comes up again. And this time it's a first pitch ball. And you think, okay, we're going to turn it around. We don't. So again, runners in scoring position, Downs comes up and strikes out. And again, it's going to feel like I'm picking on him. I'm not. He's going to be better for this moment. As a competitor, this will really fire him up, I believe. Bottom of 4, what do? We come back and we walk the leadoff guy. Again, we start out 1-0 count. McGillis is then hit by the pitch. Fristow is then gone. We bring in Pico Con, who I think is going to be outstanding, and he has been very solid for Mississippi State so far. They get, again, runners at first and second with nobody out. They get the bunt down, and they move them along. And again, we've gifted them 2 base runners. They're going to give us an out in exchange to move those guys up. They do. And then what do? It's a wild pitch. We gift them a run. Everything that happened in this inning, we gave them. Every single thing. And now all of a sudden, a 3-0 ball game is a 4-0 ball game. Now you're going to have to string together some hits. We get Montenegro out looking, and Dickerson lines out to center, and the inning is over. But again, it's self-inflicted wounds here. The walk, the hit by pitch, the wild pitch. We gifted them the run. Top of 5, we come right back in here, and again, Hall is dealing. Yeager gets a 1-0 count here and then strikes out. And those swings are really wild. I mean, we're missing big. It's one thing if we're foul tipping. It's one thing, maybe if you're swinging through it. We're swinging way over the top. And a lot of times we're not even swinging on a level plane. We're just kind of out there just hacking. Leggett then flies out to right field. And again, that's on an 0-1 count. Quarter also gets an 0-1 count and then strikes out swinging. And I thought, again, this is a non-competitive at-bat. You go back and look, we weren't anywhere close putting these balls in play. A lot of times when you have guys hitting the baseball and just not barreling it up, it's a timing issue. And maybe you need to simplify things. Maybe some guys like to have the leg tuck, not getting their foot down fast enough. Sometimes guys, they drag their hands a little bit. It takes a little while. But some of these misses are really, really big, really big. And to me, that is a pitch recognition issue. We're not recognizing the spin. And then, it's one thing, when a guy's throwing a split finger changeup, you don't see that maybe once a year, twice a year. But after you've seen it once, you hope you're a little more competitive against it the second time. We were not. It's almost like, we talk about hunting the fastball, and that needs to be our mentality. But I think people kind of use that against us too. Well, if they're hunting the fastball, we're not going to give them the fastball. And so we've got to find a way to adjust. Baseball is a game of adjustments, and not just in game or over the course of a week, but over the course of the season. You got to figure it out. 1-2-3 inning for the Bulldogs. Bottom of 5, and this is when things got away from us. Again, Pico's been solid and finally kind of gets to him here. Montenegro grounds out to second, and then we walk Ewing. Sargent flies out to center, so now you've got a runner at first and 2 outs. You're thinking, okay, we can get out of this thing. Ground ball somewhere, and we're back in the dugout trying to carve into this lead. But we walk Lynch, and it's a 4-pitch walk. Now there's runners at first and second. We complicate the matter with another wild pitch. Allows both guys to move up. Now you've got runners at second and third with 2 outs. A timely base hit. Slade Wilkes from Columbia, Mississippi, my hometown, comes through with a double to left field, drives in both runs. At this point, the game was over. It was just a matter of what the final score was going to be. It is now 6-0. And the way Hall was dealing and the way that we were kind of wailing up there at the plate, you just didn't see any hope. We bring in Brandon Smith. He gets a foul out to McGillis. Those big foul territories there, and Cam gets under it. So we're out of the inning. Cam James then singles to third base. And again, everything with Cam to me, and I don't think Cam's actually having a bad start. I've read some things, and I guess we're looking at different numbers, but I don't think Cam's approach is that bad. And he singles to third. And as soon as that guy had to field that ball well up the line, behind the bag there, he really pushed it to the farthest territory he could and stay in fair territory. As well as Cam runs, I said as soon as I saw him glove that ball, I said, you got no chance. None. And it was closer than I expected it to be, to kind of give the Southern Miss third baseman some credit. But Cam beats it out. And then Hancock comes through, hits the big chopper, the big high hopper out there to second. And for some reason, they decided to go to second. I don't know why you don't just take the out at first. Number one, your momentum is taking you away from second. You got to turn and throw. And you've got one of the fastest players on the Mississippi State roster going in. It was not a close play at second. It was basically a gift. And I believe in the baseball guys, and I believe in baseball justice. And I felt, okay, well, they're going to handle them right here. Baseball guys will, you don't play the game correctly, that they punish you for it. Well, instead, we make a mistake. We ground into a double play, same situation. Ground ball to third, he steps on the bag and throws across to first. And, of course, not as much speed going down the bag. And Logan's a catcher, right? And it's a double play. Hines is then hit by the pitch. On base again for the third time. Cumbus then walks, and again, the bases are loaded here, and you think, okay, anything here makes this a game again. And then Down strikes out. It's 3 times in the game that Aaron Down strikes out with runners on. First time with 1 runner on, then with 2, and now with 3. And again, I'm not picking on him, but the moment always seems to find you when you're struggling a little bit. It's like when you're having a tough night, it always seems like the game finds you. That's the thing about baseball. It's cruel, but it's fair. Down strikes out. And actually a little more competitive at bat this time. The final strike really wasn't. It was really a wild swing. And again, this is a freshman. Okay, I don't want to beat him up. This is a freshman. This is a guy that's only played in a handful of games so far. The guy's going to be a star at Mississippi State. It really is. But, not his best night, obviously, down at Trustmark Park. So we leave him loaded. Southern Miss comes up. Pico actually does, Brandon Smith, does a good job here. And Brandon's had back-to-back good outings. And I'm a Brandon Smith fan. I've told you guys before. I like his approach to the game. I like his willingness to compete. I like the fact that he can go out there and basically be a ground ball machine for you. We get a foul out down the line and left. We give up a double. And this is one, too, where, Montenegro, it seems like Southern Miss has always had a Montenegro. I mean, it seemed somebody joked on the message board last night, said he should be getting his doctorate. Then Dickerson flies out to right, and you're thinking, okay, they got a runner at third here. We're a pitch away from getting out of this thing, and lo and behold, again, it's another 2-out timely hit for Southern Miss. Single back up the box to score the brother, to score Rodrigo Montenegro. Now it's a 7-0 game. We get Ewing looking. But again, the difference in this ball game, Southern Miss getting the timely base hit, Mississippi State not getting the base hit. I mean, Aaron Downs could be on the front page of the Clarion Ledger today. And again, it feels like I'm picking on him. I'm not. But it just seems like every time we had runners in scoring position, he came up and just wasn't seeing the baseball well last night. We bring in Davis Metch and let him pinch hit for RJ. And Metch is a guy, too, that was on his team last year. Didn't play a whole lot, but it's a guy that understands culture. He rolls one out to first. They pick it up, throw to the pitcher. And again, it's a first pitch strike situation. I mean, I can't say enough about how well they got pitched. We helped a lot. We helped him a lot, but he did a great job forcing the action. Leggett then strikes out, and then Jess Davis comes in and pinch hits, and he strikes out too. Bottom of 7, Mikey Tepper comes in for Brandon Smith and has a 1-2-3 inning there. Sargent strikes out. Lynch grounds out to short. Wilkes strikes out. You want to ask me if there is any positive from last night? It's that. It's Mikey Tepper. Mikey Tepper having a clean inning, coming in, pounding his own, coming in really competing, being the guy we need him to be. That guy's potential closer for us. We need him to kind of round into form. And over the weekend, he was a little bit up and down. But he had a clean inning against Southern Miss. And it wasn't, we're talking 3, 4, 5. It wasn't like he's facing 7, 8, 9, and guys that they've just kind of put in to empty the bench out. But that's really the only positive that I can draw. That maybe Hunter Hines' play from the game is that Mikey Tepper went out there and gave you a clean inning. And Brandon Smith, I guess, had a decent one. But the bottom line, we lost the ball game in embarrassing fashion. Get on top of 8. They finally pull Hall, bring in Harper, and we start seeing a little velo. And what do you know? We start putting the ball in play a little bit better. Cam James barrels one up, but it's really a line out to center. Hancock then walks. Logan Tanner doubles to center field, and Hancock scores from first. And LT absolutely murdered this baseball. It was just too little too late. Hines then grounds out to first. He steps on the bag. And then Cummins grounds out to short. Again, you start thinking, well, at least you're putting the ball in play. What's the 8th inning? We bring in Cole Cheatham to make his debut for Tepper, and didn't go as well as we'd hoped. You open the inning with a walk. There is a fielder's choice there. We forced the guy at second. Montenegro flies out. And you're thinking, okay, we're pitch away from getting out of this. Then we walk Dickerson. We walk Montenegro to load the bases. And we have to bring in Brooks Auger. And Lamonis was not pleased walking out to the mound. You guys have seen that stroll of steam when Chris is walking out there. You bring in Brooks Auger, who had a pretty big battle here with the bases loaded, and he wins and gets a swinging strikeout to leave them loaded. Top of 9, a lot of pinch hitting here, right? So Kellen Clark comes in and grounds out to first. Mesh strikes out 3 pitches, and then Von Siebert comes in and extends the game.
Winter can wreak havoc on your skin. Hey, it's Kayla, and it's not just the weather, but as a new mom, I've seen my skin change in ways that I'm not too happy about. But that's where the Skin Center has you covered. Their most popular treatment is Botox because they're the best at it. They've been ranked a top 10 provider in the nation by Allergan Aesthetics, the makers of Botox. And their best facial is what I got. It's the HydraFacial. It exfoliates, extracts, and hydrates all at once. So save your skin from these winter blues and DM at the Skin Center MD on Instagram and mention code Kayla to get $100 off your first Botox or filler treatment or any skincare package.
And Jeff Davis flies out to right field, and the ball game's over. We got whipped. Simple as that. And a lot of these issues are our own. Give Southern Miss some credit. I mean, those guys played exceptionally well. Had a couple of errors there. We didn't make them pay for it. They had good enough pitching to kind of get around it. They have 7 hits. We have 7 hits. The difference is their hits came in a more timely manner. We really struggled with guys on base. And that has kind of been, kind of the elephant in the room. Even in games that we've won, we haven't been nearly as efficient offensively as we should have been or could have been. We don't have a clutch gene right now. We got to figure that out. Let's run the numbers here real quick. Jackson Fristow, 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs. Not a good outing, just okay. Walk 2, didn't strike out any. We need him to be better. Pico Kong goes 1 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 2 runs, 2 walks. Got to clean that up. The 2 wild pitches, that's got to get better too. And again, with a freshman, you expect there to be some up and down. And he's been really good so far. This was not his best outing by any stretch. Brandon Smith comes in, 1 in the third, 2 hits, the 1 run, 1 K, 3 flyouts, only 19 pitches, pretty efficient in that respect. I mentioned Mikey Tupper, the clean inning there. No hits, no runs, 2 Ks, no walks, and the 1 ground out. 12 pitches. That'll get it done. Cole Cheatham, just 2/3 of an inning, walk 3. That won't work. And he'll be better for it. I mean, he's a left-hander. We're going to need him to match up a little bit. And Brooks Auger comes in and retires the only batter that he sees via K. Tanner Hall had the longest outing of his career for Southern Miss and struck out 13 hitters and walked 1. The longest outing for a Southern Miss starter of the season. We had something to do with that. He was on his game, but some of that was us. We got to have a better approach at the plate. We absolutely have to have a better approach at the plate. We're going to talk about Tulane a little bit later in the show, but that's kind of where we are today. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm optimistic that we're going to be a top 8 national seed. I think this team has too much talent to continue struggling. They will figure it out. And it's like, oh, there's got to be something wrong. Guys, what could it be? What do you think it is? You think all of a sudden you're going to find out that there's some cancer in the locker room? That's not true. All of a sudden the coaches have forgot how to coach? That's not true either. It's just baseball sometimes. Sometimes the game plays you tough. Sometimes you go out there and you play hard and do the best you can, and the ball doesn't drop for you. Sometimes you run into a pitcher. And we've had a couple guys this week that have really kept us off balance, and that's what we're going to see. People are going to continue to mix and match and change speeds against us. It stinks. It does. But that's the game. This isn't football where you go out and physically dominate people. There's a lot of thinking. And the thing that I go back to about the thinking, sometimes I think some of our guys are thinking too much at the plate. I think you got to simplify things. They say, hey, listen, I want you to go up there and you take every pitch until it gets to be 2 strikes, until you get the pitch you're looking for. Until you get a pitch you can elevate. Until you get a ball away. I want you to go up there, work right side, whatever. Have an approach. We can't have the see ball, hit ball mentality. And when you got guys up there processing a lot of information, you get wild swings. There's an old saying in hitting that a full mind leads to an empty bat. And that's the truth. You complicate things. Okay, look for this and look for that and this count here. No. It's just like Brad Cumbus. I've said all along, when he came up, if I'm coaching Brad Cumbus, I'm going to say, Brad, I don't want you swinging at a breaking ball until there's 2 strikes. I want you to sit there and work the count until you get a fastball, and then when you get it, don't miss it. And you can tell that some of the things Jake Gautro's telling him too, because he says, hey, I got to be looking first pitch heater all the time. Well, sometimes you put that stuff out there, people read that too. Nobody's a dummy. They watch the film. They know you're sitting dead red. And sometimes you got to show them that you can be disciplined, because when you're swinging over the top of change-ups and you're chasing sliders away, well, you're not going to get a fastball that you can really drive. If you do get one, it's going to be on the pitcher's terms. And so I think it's important. Simplify the game a little bit, and it's not just on coaching. Coaching's part of the deal. You got to prepare guys. But sometimes as a hitter, you got to go in there and say, okay, what's my approach here? Where are the runners? How many outs are there? How are they playing me? How did they pitch me last time? But you got to have all that stuff done before you step in the box. Once you get in the box, it's go time. You get in there, you get in an athletic stance, you get your hands up. When it's time to load, everything quiets down. Get your head steady. Keep your hands inside the baseball. Watch your point of contact. It's as simple as that. Steve, you make it all sound so easy. A lot of times it is. A lot of times you got to simplify the game for guys, especially when they're struggling. You can't just go out there and just say, hey, go do your best. No. Here's what we're going to do. When he throws you that slider away, I want you to take it over the first baseman's head and double that ball in the right field. Pitch it where it is. Hit it where it is, excuse me. Yeah. And again, it's the reality of baseball is this. it is a team game played by individuals. It's not like football. You miss a block or something like that. When it's time, when you're in the box, it's just you and the pitcher. You got to do your part. And a lot of that is just being mentally tough. Guys like Luke Hancock, that guy's tough as nails, man. He is. That guy can really play. That guy's a real bulldog. That guy's a trained assassin at the plate. He'll get it going. Logan Tanner, how many big hits did he have for us last year? There were several SEC weekends when it wasn't TA picking us up. It was LT. You remember the game against Texas, the elimination game? Who was it that had the big hit? It's LT. So I'm still confident they're going to get it going. I'm not going to say it's not going to get worse before it gets better. But I think sometimes going on the road and getting away from Starkville, getting away from all the distractions that go along with being at home sometimes are good. So just building some esprit de corps. Let's get into today's top 10 list, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E, Close with Blair, B-L-A-I-R. A true mortgage professional, a guy that's been in the industry for 21 years. Works at Fairway Mortgage, number 2 in retail volume in the United States and number 1 in customer service. So you got the best guy with the best company doing the best job for you. Many of you have thought, you know what, Steve, I don't know anything about this. It pays to have a friend in the industry. Blair is my friend. He'll be your friend too. Whether you're looking to refinance and probably pay off some debt, lower your debt-to-income ratio, make things a little bit easier on you month to month, where you're not sweating it out. When you go put your debit card in the ATM the day before payday, you're not having to think, oh my gosh, please, please, please. Yeah, you can get all those days behind you. Or maybe you're looking to buy a home for the first time. Maybe you're looking to start a new life for yourself. Maybe you want to get a second home. You reach out to my friend Blair Chandler. Again, that's closewithblair.com. Let me give you his number too. I think it's important that you have this. Blair is a guy that top 1% close ratio in the country. 601-500-2344. 601-500-2344. And you say, Steve, I don't know that I could ever get approved. And you know what? You may be right. Maybe you can't get approved. But if there is anybody that can get you approved, it's going to be Blair Chandler. So if you're an atypical borrower, maybe you're kind of non-conforming to current mortgage underwriting guidelines, Blair's a guy that can get creative. He can help give you a plan. Have the best guy working for you. closewithblair.com. All right, closewithblair.com is our sponsor for the top 10 list. And today's top 10 list is an 80s icon in many respects. A guy that went solo. And some people are going to say, well, Steve, you tweeted out a GIF of Eazy-E. It's NWA. No, it's not. It's the Police. The anti-NWA, I guess. The Police. If you're familiar with NWA's catalog, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're a big hit. It was kind of not in support of law enforcement. So, not that I don't like the song, but here we go. Sting and the Police. I expanded the list to work in some of the solo stuff. There are a few honorable mentions today. Fortress Around Your Heart, that's a Sting solo track. Always, I don't know what I wrote down here. Shape of My Heart is another one, and then Russians, and that's very timely. I hope the Russians love their children too. That's the chorus there. So be sure and check that one out if you're unfamiliar. Very timely. All right, number 10 on the list is a Police song that was very, very popular. It was everywhere for a time there. These guys really benefited from the MTV era. It's number 10, Wrapped Around Your Finger. Number 9, it's The King of Pain. Great track, big hit for the Police. Number 8, a Sting solo track, If I Ever Lose My Faith in You. It's like I can lose everything else in life. I can lose possessions and money, esteem, whatever, but if I ever lose my faith in you, then I'm probably done. Number 7, a Police song with probably one of the more interesting song titles. It's Da-Do-Do-Do, Da-Da-Da-Da. Check that one out. You're probably somewhat familiar with that one. Pretty kind of an infectious bass line to that one, too. Number 6, another very timeless track in many respects. It is another Sting solo track. It's Fields of Gold, number 6. Number 5, a Police song that probably is, probably in some respects, anthemic during the quarantine age. It's Don't Stand So Close to Me. Observe the proper social distancing, right? Number 5, Don't Stand So Close to Me. Number 4, off the album The Dream of the Blue Turtles, there actually is a title track to that one too. It's If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free. Firm believer in that. I don't want anybody to be with me that feels that some sense of obligation. Don't do me any favors. If you love me, let me be me. I'll let you be you. Number 3, it's Message in a Bottle. And the guitar on this is actually very, very technical. You know, Police were not just a pop band. You know, they were a band that was very accomplished musicians. And I think this is very indicative of their talent level. The Message in a Bottle. If you played, I guess it was Rock Band, they had this on there as well. Number 2, a great song about a great girl. It's Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Everything she does just turns me on. Even though my life was filled with sadness, you know, that everything she does is magic. It's a great, great track. Be sure and check that one out. And then number 1, I don't know that there was a video at the time that got played as much as this one, but it's Every Breath You Take. And the song is almost kind of stalkerish. You know, it's like every move you make, I'll be watching you. You know, it's not meant to be that way, but it kind of comes off that way. Some people have kind of raised that point. But Every Breath You Take, that's a Police track, number 1, on the top 10 list today of Sting/Police songs. Be sure and check those out. An incredible songwriter with an incredible voice. A guy in many respects that shook things up when he went solo. A lot of people wondered what was next. You know, Synchronicity is a great album. If you're unfamiliar with the catalog, maybe you could put that one on from start to finish. I think you'll be pleased with that one. A lot of hits on that album. But that's a top 10 list. If you have ideas for a top 10 list, reach out and let me know. I'll be happy to do them for you. We didn't do the Prime Shrimp Player of the Game in the first half of the show. We're going to do it in the next segment as we talk about some basketball stuff, because to be quite honest with you, I didn't feel that we had a Prime Shrimp Player of the Game in baseball. Just didn't. That's the reality of it. And be sure and check in with Prime Shrimp. Go to primeshrimp.com. Use promo code Boneyard. We'll talk about them a little bit more in the next segment. Let's start with our friends at Campus Bookmart. Campus Bookmart, I'll be by there later today. I was informed that they are just about out of signed books. Never fear, I'm going to go by there and get that handled today before I head back to Jackson on way to New Orleans to cover the Tulane baseball series this weekend. Campus Bookmart, a great place to shop, a great place to visit. When you're in town, go by and see Standing Man, Miss Kathy Brown, the lovely, talented Susie. They'll take care of you. They'll treat you like family because in their minds you are family. It's the big maroon family. The latest in maroon and white merchandise always available at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, if I can get it out, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. And that'll get you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. Again, that's campusbookmart.net. And it's warming up around here, so you probably need to start thinking about, you know, some summer wear for the young people. And you heard my impassioned plea on Dad's behalf on yesterday's show. Take care of Dad, too. Dad puts up with a lot. And sometimes being dad, as Chris Rock says, sometimes all you get out of being dad is getting a big piece of chicken. How about get Dad something nice? How about order him a new MSU polo today? He'll be glad you did. Campusbookmart.net, promo code BSR. All right, let's get into some men's hoops. The first thing that I will say is it was very much an admirable effort by the hardcourt Bulldogs last night. I did not expect this game to be close. I did think if Auburn scored in the 80s, we're going to lose, and that's what happened, and we did. But Mississippi State had every opportunity to fold in this ball game, and they didn't. They didn't. They played hard for their coach. They played hard for each other. They played hard for all of you. It was a great atmosphere in Humphrey Coliseum. I listened to the game on the way back from Pearl, what was left of it. And, it was a raucous atmosphere. A lot of Auburn people there, too. And that's another thing we can talk about another day. But the final home game in the old Humphrey Coliseum, and likely the final home game for Ben Howland, and it's a partisan crowd for the opposition. As our players take the floor, they're booed in their own arena. If that's not a microcosm of where we are, or, kind of a symbol of where we are as a basketball program, I don't know what else is. Our players booed soundly by the opposition in our own gym. That's rough. Really rough. But as I mentioned, Auburn came out and really took it to us early on and had a chance to kind of put us away early. I mean, right there at the under 12 timeout, it's 17-8. Auburn. They had all the juice. They continued to kind of pile on there. And next thing you know, you look up at the under 8, and it's a 13-point lead. And that's after, we made a couple free throws just before the break there. A little bit later in the half, it is a 30-17 game with just 5:37 to play. And it just felt like it was going to be one of those nights. It really did. 37-20 with 3:28 to go after a dunk from Jabari Smith, who was an outstanding player. Timeout on the floor to kind of reset. The lead swells to 19, and as we get to the break, State had actually cut it back down to 12. So 19 points with 2:17 to go. And State puts together a nice little run here and puts 8 points on the board to cut it to 40-28. So we're within a dozen. And you start thinking, okay, could we make this thing interesting? Could we make them play both halves? Well, we did. It's really, really easy to say, hey, we could have just said, it's been a long year. It hadn't gone our way. We've had some injuries. We've had some inconsistent play. This thing is done. Anderson Garcia in the lineup in the second half had an outstanding game, perhaps his best in the uniform. Gets a layup and cuts it to 10. Auburn goes right back with a jumper. Wes Flanagan's kid, Allen, makes it a 12-point lead again, and State wouldn't go away. Absolutely wouldn't go away. We get it down to double digits. Get into right around the 12th timeout here. It's an 8-point lead, and it had been as low as 4. Shaquille Moore with the big fast break dunk there with 13:22 to play. Makes it a 4-point game. Auburn puts together a nice little run there to kind of maintain the lead. And then under 10, Tolu Smith makes a nice play in the post. It is now a 2-point game. Next thing you know, free throw by Shaquille Moore makes it a 1-point game, and then State takes the lead with 8:46 to play. At this point, you got to think Auburn is panicking a little bit. The State lead gets as high as 5 with 7:20 to play. And at this point, as Richard Williams said, there were a lot of people in the gym that weren't there at the tip-off. We had a lot of our students turn out, and I don't think anybody can say anything negative about the students. They did a great job. You might say some negative things about people that sold their tickets, but the reality of it is they're just people that are done with this era of Mississippi State basketball. State pushes it back out to 5 again right at 6 minutes, and then Jabari Smith rams home a 3 to cut it to 2. Auburn takes the lead at 57-56. State could quit then. They did not. Iverson Molinar with the 3-point play to give State a 2-point lead right at the 4-minute mark. And this is the 4-minute mark has always kind of been the witching hour for this team. Rather than fold late, State hangs on, plays really good defense, and at this point we force overtime. The thing that I go back to is that coaching wins and loses close ball games. And people say, well, Steve, there's this and there's that. No, the bottom line is you get down to the end, and it boils down to the coaches. I didn't think either team played well in the final minute, really the last couple minutes. At the 3-minute mark, State has a 2-point lead, just simply needs to finish. And we don't score a basket the rest of the game. Final 3 minutes, we don't score. Auburn manages to get 1. That was a big jumper by Jabari Smith with 51 seconds to go. But, we have a chance to go 2 for 1. We don't. We take an ill-advised 3 from Garrison Brooks, and it's an air ball. Completely missed the goal. They have a chance to take the last shot. They do. And they fire up a 3, kind of a disjointed play there. And, it's short, and Anderson Garcia pulls it down. So you get into overtime. You're thinking, man, we got a shot. Maybe we'll get a lift here. from the crowd. There's so many people there. And really, turnovers kind of got to us. Early in this ball, in the overtime period, turnovers made the difference, allowed Auburn to get some separation. We make one of two free throws to get the lead, and then Katie Johnson with layup on the other end gives Auburn the lead back. DJ Jeffries turns it over, and it's a three-point shot by Katie Johnson that makes it a 4-point game for Auburn. And then Andy Garcia turns it over. We end up fouling Katie Johnson. He makes both free throws, makes it a 6-point game. Tolu fouled down low, makes them both. And he hadn't always been the most prolific free throw shooter. Set up and made some big shots for us. It's now a 4-point game. We get a steal, and then we blow the layup. This couldn't finish at the other end. They get the rebound, go right down on a fast break. It's insanity here. We have a chance to kind of do something we hadn't done in forever, and that's notch a big win. And the more talented team won at closing time. It is now a 6-point game, and then a free throw makes it a 7-point game. And to be honest with you, the rest of it doesn't really matter. We end up losing by 13. Auburn dominates the rest of the game. We only score 2 more points the rest of the game. We were out of gas. 81-68. I cannot knock the effort, but the result is not positive by any stretch. Our prime shrimp player of the game, I'll get that right at some point, is Tolu Smith, who I thought played one of the best games of his career at Mississippi State. If you're looking for quality shrimp, look no further than our friends at Prime Shrimp. They've been peeling shrimp in the New Orleans area since the 1940s. Proud to debut an exciting new flavor, Louisiana Crab Bowl. Be sure and check that out. Although I guess it's the Louisiana Shrimp Bowl, actually, but it's the Louisiana Bowl. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's seasoned and spiced to make you feel like you're down on the bayou. Be sure to use our promo code Boneyard at Prime Shrimp to save yourself a little money on your first order. Here's the deal, too. A lot of people say, Steve, I'd love to have shrimp, but it's just so much trouble. They take the trouble out of the experience for you. You don't have to peel them. You don't have to devein them. They're in a handy pouch that's sent direct to your front door. Pre-seasoned shrimp, you just drop it in a pot of boiling water. It's ready in 10 minutes. You got a luxurious Cajun meal in 10 minutes or less without all the prep and cleanup that goes along with it. Order at primeshrimp.com. Get it delivered straight to your door. And again, promo code Boneyard to save a little cash in that. It's a risk-free purchase. If you don't love it, you get your money back. How many places let you do that? You can try the food, and if you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. It doesn't work that way in life. But Tolu Smith, your prime shrimp player of the game. Tolu, 39 minutes of action, 9 of 16 from the floor, 4 of 5 from the line, pulled down 12 rebounds, had a couple of assists, 4 turnovers, a pair of blocks, and 2 steals, 22 points. So a double-double for him. Iverson Molinar played all 40 minutes, did not have a good game. And he said, well, Steve, you scored 14 points. And he did, but at some crucial moments in the ball game, I thought the moment proved to be a little bit big for him. 5 of 19 from the floor. Missed all 3 of his three-point attempts, and that's kind of par for the course for the team. We're 0 of 13 again. I think Robbie Falk dug up the stat. It's 1 for 33 in the last 3 games. And somebody responded, and I laughed when I read it, and I guess it's funny because it's true. It's like, hey, if you told me they were 1 for 33 from half court, I might believe that. You think, hey, if they're shooting from half court, sure, they'll make one every once in a while. We can't throw it in the ocean from 3. And again, they say, well, Steve, who recruited the team? If we just had one consistent perimeter shooter, just imagine what this team could be with Winsome Frazier, right? If you just had somebody that could keep the defense honest and Iverson could drive and dish it out and consistently get a basket from beyond the arc, you're not even sweating this thing out. It's over. My point is we wouldn't have been on the bubble. We couldn't go out and recruit a shooter. We can't shoot the basketball. And I don't know if you know, that's a basic tenet of basketball. James Naismith, when he put the game together, you got to pitch it. You got to throw it in the basket. We struggle to do that. Iverson, of course, that really big 10-second violation. He had a technical foul. He lost his composure in that ball game. Garrison Brooks played really hard. He had that ill-advised 3. But 36 minutes of action for him, 4 of 6 from the line, 8 rebounds, nearly a double-double for him, 10 points. And Garrison Brooks is a guy, too, that was considered by many to be the best player in the ACC. I don't know what has changed with him. We've had some good games with him, though, as to be fair. Tonight, was a good game, too. He played really hard. We didn't get the result we wanted, but I can't knock the effort. DJ Jeffries, 35 minutes, 3 of 7 from the floor, just 6 points for him. DJ Jeffries has not been what we needed him to be this year. Just hadn't been. Maybe that's the offensive system we're trying to run. Maybe DJ just hadn't developed chemistry with the team. Really only had the one big game from him. He has been a solid role player for us, but I don't think he has lived up to the expectations many of us had, and maybe those were unfair. Shaquille Moore, 23 minutes of action, 6 points for him, 0 of 6 from beyond the arc, just 2 of 8 from the field. Andy Garcia, 29 minutes, 13 rebounds, and 8 points. That's a guy right there that has always provided some great energy and really played with some real intensity. Cam Matthews, again, not doing a lot to fill up the box score, doing a great job defensively, doing the grunt work out there. You need a guy like him. Played 13 minutes, just 1 of 2 from the floor, pulled down 3 rebounds. But again, on the defensive end, he is a guy that really makes life difficult on our opponents. Javian Davis, another transfer, 4 minutes, no points. Derek Fountain, 4 minutes, no points. And Cam Carter, 2 minutes, no points. So when you look at the bench scoring, a lot of it came from Andy Garcia. But, where State really, I thought, as bad as it was on the perimeter, State really dominated on the glass, 50-32. If I had told you before the ball game you're going to be plus 18 against Auburn in the rebound, you think you'd won the game. Well, we didn't. We absolutely didn't. We turned the ball over way too much. 25 points for Auburn off turnovers. We turned it over 20 times ourselves. Just not a good stretch by him. And in order to beat a team like Auburn, they're a very, very good team. Very good team. You can't make the mistakes that we made. And again, I commend our crowd for turning out. I commend the players for their effort. We just didn't execute enough. And so here's the thing, too, and this may come across a little bit terse, shall we say. But I think the problem that you start running into when you consistently have these type of endings, I think a problem you keep running into is you're just not very good. We're not a bad basketball team. We're just not a really good team. We're good enough to beat many of the teams that we should, but a really good team, a tournament team, finds a way to close this game out, despite the level of competition. You're at home, biggest crowd of the year. You have a chance to keep your faint hopes alive, and then you can't close the deal. Auburn held to just 21 points in the second half. They scored 20 in overtime. State puts 33 points in the basket in the second half, and then only 7 in overtime. And that proved to be the difference in the ballgame. In the end, the more talented team usually wins. And again, we have some talent. I believe this team was capable of making the tournament. We didn't make the tournament. You say, well, Steve, we could still win the SEC tournament. Yeah, theoretically. This team, with its lack of depth, is just not good enough to put together, 3 or 4 good days of basketball. I don't see it. I know you all feel the same way. I would love to be able to come back here, a week from now and say, hey, Mississippi State's getting ready to play for the SEC Tournament Championship. I just, what have we seen this year to give you any evidence to suggest that that's a real possibility? It's not. It's absolutely not. So State now 17-13 and 8-9 in the league, and they will go on the road and play an A&M team that won in Tuscaloosa last night. And so A&M is basically in the position that we were once in, needing a couple more wins to legitimize themselves as a tournament team. They had a really good start and then really, really faltered in the middle part of the season. But they have found some things as of late, and so we'll get ready to go play those guys on Saturday. You say, yeah, you like to win the game. State's won one road game all year, and that was by 2 against the worst team in the league. And so you're not optimistic. And listening to Ben Howland's comments last night, he mentioned, how A&M is very unorthodox. They're going to pressure us a lot. They're going to force our guards to get rid of the basketball. So does the matchup favor us? No, it doesn't. And we're going to be on the road. I think when you look at this team and you start thinking 17-14 and 8-10 in the league, where do you go from here? Well, you go get another coach. And everybody talked about at the beginning of the year, we said, hey, we got to make the tournament in order for Ben Howland to stay. I think that was the consensus opinion. That wasn't just the insider opinion. I think everybody, even the casual fans of Mississippi State basketball, said, hey, we got to make tournament. We got to make the tournament. And not just because it's been a while, but because you had the talent to do it. We had a really good run in the transfer portal. Ben Howland and the staff did a great job going out and identifying some players. We were just a shooter away from really being a significant team. And that's the thing, too. That's what makes it so frustrating, is that we are capable of playing with Auburn and Kentucky in stretches. But we're one shooter away from being able to finish those games. Because what happens is, everybody knows when Iverson Molinar drives, you don't have to respect the kick out because Mississippi State, if memory serves me correct, has the fewest three-point attempts in the conference. And then when we do shoot it, we can't make it. So nobody's going to respect that shot. So everybody's going to, peel off the shooter and try to double Iverson or force him to go left. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say a lot of negative things about Iverson Molinar. He has been an absolute warrior for us. Last night they kind of got to him a little bit, but that's the outlier. This guy's been a very steady performer for us. The thing that I go back to when I look at this team, and maybe you see it differently than me, and that's okay. I'll love you just the same. And you can say, well, Steve, we've had some injuries, and we have. But has Rocket Watts been better for Mississippi State than he was at Michigan State? Has he been better? Is Iverson Molinar better this year than last year? I think you could probably make that case. I think a lot of that, too, is because he had to shoulder more of the load with DJ moving on. Is Javian Davis better? I would say no. Is Shaquille Moore better here than he was at NC State? I would say no. Cam Matthews, a guy that, again, you can't really judge Cam like you do some other players because of the stuff that he does. It doesn't show up in a box score. And Cam Carter, of course, is still young, and we think he's going to be a great player for us in time. Is Garrison Brooks better than he was at North Carolina? Absolutely not. Is Andy Garcia gotten better? Yeah, he has. Is DJ Jeffries better at Mississippi State than he was at Memphis? I would say no. Derek Fountain has regressed this year. Is Tolu Smith better than he was at Western Kentucky? Yeah, I would say so. But by and large, you look and you don't see a lot of guys getting better. You just don't see them getting better. And so it's like a lot of these guys are going to be gone next year. So we're going to be playing NCAA transfer portal roulette again. And that's when you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, are we ever going to have some stability in college basketball at Mississippi State? I think if you're going to go out and renovate the arena and you're going to expect people to come, you got to give them a better brand of basketball. And what we've seen the last 7 years has just been subpar. And that's not to say that it's been awful. It hadn't been. It hasn't been awful. It just hasn't been up to expectation. And that's one thing. I worked for a guy years ago, and he said something that is very profound that stayed with me my entire life. It was one time I trying to make excuses for myself, and I was like, well, I'm doing the best I can. And he goes, well, maybe the best you can isn't good enough. I don't need you to do what the best you can. I need you to do what the expectation is. Well, so that I had to I figured out that I had a better best. Here I was thinking, I'm about to do the best I can, go through the day, and everything will be okay. But I was challenged. Okay, so the expectation is you got to hit these numbers. Well, I started hitting them. And to give Joe Moorhead a little bit of credit, even though the Joe experience here was not as pleasant as we'd like for it to be, Joe always said nobody rises to low expectations. When you tell people what you expect of them, then that's where we are. You got to be able to hit the expectation. Doesn't matter how nice you are. Doesn't matter how hard you work. Doesn't matter how much people like you. The expectation is to make the NCAA tournament. Are you going to make it every year? Absolutely not. But to go one time in 7 years, it's unacceptable. And then the one time you win, you get upset by Liberty, it's unacceptable. And there are a lot of people out there that are kind of mid-major college basketball hipsters. Well, there's this and there's that. No. This is the gig. It's kind of like, to use a baseball analogy as well, it's like there are times when we ran into a really good arm. Well, you know what? That really good arm ran into a good team too. So let's not excuse our own deficiencies by saying, the guy was just better than us. If that's the case, if that's the excuse that we're willing to accept for ourselves, we're never going to win. We're never going to achieve what we expect to as an athletic program or department if we just say, well, they're doing their best. No. These are the expectations. If you don't meet the expectations, we have to make a change. And I just expect better from Mississippi State. And maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I am. I read some things sometimes like on social media and the Facebook groups and even sometimes when I'm on the message boards. And I think, maybe my expectations are too high. But I'm not going to let them go. And that's the thing too. I can expect as much as I want. I got to deal with whatever we get. But the reality of it is I believe Mississippi State can compete. I believe Mississippi State can win. I don't think we have to settle for being an NIT team and at times an NIT bubble team. I just don't think that's the case. And it'd be one thing, it's like, hey, we're in NIT for a couple of years and then we get the payoff by going to the big dance, maybe that third year. I just think it's unacceptable to go 7 years and not have an NCAA tournament win, and we're the only team in the conference that can say that. Where else would that be acceptable? And say, well, Steve, I really like this guy or that guy or this lady. It doesn't matter how much you like them. This isn't dinner on the grounds, at the Macedonia Baptist Church. It doesn't matter how well you get along. We're not friends. You're here to do a job. And if you don't do it, you got to go. It's unacceptable. And you can say, well, they're doing the best they can. Well, maybe your best isn't good enough. That's the reality of life. It happens for all of us. If you want to be elite, you want to pack the hump, you can't keep doing the same thing you've been doing. Think about that for a second. The final home game of the Ben Howland era, there may have been more Auburn fans than there were Mississippi State fans. Let that sink in for a second. We're bringing in a top 5 opponent. We still have a chance. A slim chance, but we still have a chance to make a tournament. Let's say if you beat Auburn and you beat A&M and all of a sudden you put together a win or two in the tournament, that's a lot of ifs, I know. But you're bringing in, arguably the best player in college basketball, and then they outpace us in our own gym. It's a pride issue there. The bottom line is that the Mississippi State fan base is not proud of our men's basketball program. And I won't listen to any arguments against that. If we were proud of our program, we would be there. If we were proud of our program, we wouldn't dream of letting Auburn people come in and take over our arena and boo our team on their home floor. We're not proud of the program. And he said, but Steve, there are no buts. The evidence is there. Evidence is clear. And again, maybe we want different things. Maybe we do. I think we all want to win. Yeah, and there's sometimes too, and maybe this is from my background in recovery, and I'll share this with you. And it took me a long time to understand this concept. One of the things they preach in recovery is principles before personalities. No matter how much I like somebody, if they're not providing some type of, benefit to my life or whatever, if I'm not getting something out of the relationship of a positive nature, I got to think about that. It's like, okay, well, I really like this person, but they're stealing from me. And you make excuses for them because you like them, and really it's an inferiority complex. It's like, well, I don't think I can do any better. I got to put up with this to keep this person in my life. And so it's a principles for personalities deal. There are times too, like when I was in retail management, you manage salespeople. I had some people that were fantastic people that were awful salespeople. Well, again, I'm not trying to fund the Glee Club. I've got people ahead of me that are supervising me that say, hey, these are the sales numbers we expect you to hit. I'm going to be the last guy to go. Again, I had a lot of nice people that I had to fire. Fired well over 100 people in my career. I don't take any pride in that. Because somewhere along the way, maybe I made a bad hiring decision. Maybe I made a bad training decision. But the reality of life is that, when people aren't getting the job done, you have to make the change as a leader. whether that's a popular decision or not. And I think it's evident by the fact that we can't get people to come watch us play basketball that we need to have a change in the direction of our men's basketball program. And I know I sound like a broken record. I have been very optimistic about this team this year. I have been. And I think most people that listen to the show, I have said, even after some bad losses, even after that bad loss to a really bad Ole Miss team, I said I still believe we will make the tournament. We are a tournament team. I believe we'll do it. Until it was evident that we wouldn't. And at what point do you say, you know what, hey, well, maybe next year? I think that's beyond. I think we're past that now. And I'm supportive of every coach at Mississippi State as long as they're the coach of Mississippi State. And listen, I give Ben Howland a lot of credit last night for making the adjustments necessary to get State back in the ball game. You know, defensively, our effort was outstanding. That's kind of his pedigree. He's a defensive-minded coach. But what has become his identity at Mississippi State is playing it close and then losing in the end to superior teams. And I don't know that we are talent deficient. I don't think that we are as talented as some have suggested. I do think we're good enough to get to the tournament, and we haven't done it. And so it's kind of like the old Houston Nutt thing at Ole Miss years ago. It becomes this monster of sort. When everybody talks about how much talent you have, true or untrue, when that's the perception is that you're a very talented team and you don't win, there's only one explanation, and it's coaching. And so you go out and you recruit these guys, and you know who knew, way back in December that we weren't going to have at least one consistent shooter from outside. I mean, what we've done down the stretch is abysmal. And we all see it. But, we're not going to belabor the point. I do believe we are at the end, and I think that we'll find out some official news sooner rather than later. I don't think this is something that drags on. I think the search for the coach is well underway. As you guys that subscribe to Gene's page know, Paul Jones keeping up with that really close, and I'll throw in some asides every now and again. But the reality of it is that, there comes a time in life you got to make difficult decisions. I don't think this decision is very difficult. I think it may be a little difficult to execute because of the personalities involved, because Ben Howland is a great person. I don't think you'll find anyone that will say otherwise. But he hadn't won enough. And that's as simple as it is. Let's take a look at Tulane. This segment of the show brought to you by Portico. Good friends of ours, right? A lot of Bulldogs involved with Portico. And that's one of the things that I love about that whole development. This isn't just some fly-by-night company that's just kind of coming through and putting some roots in the ground temporarily. These are people that believe in Starkville, Mississippi State. Brooks, Bryan, that entire group there, they're Mississippi State folks through and through. So come check it out. Portico, right off, you take off 82 on the 12, like going to campus, very first right, Pat Station Road. Boom, next thing you know, you're at Portico. 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus, but it's on the quiet side of campus. You got that great neighborhood market right there, too. So if you forget to pick up a, loaf of bread on the way home, you're right there. You don't have to run all the way to town. You can just get it done. Very convenient. Phase 1 completely sold out. Phase 2 under construction now. You can start with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, and everything in between. And that's the thing, too, because Phase 2 is just kind of getting started. You can pick your lot and have a say in your housing plans. Portico is a great place to live. I've told you guys more than once. If I was moving to Starkville now, that's where I'd move. And I'm entrenched right now where I am. But if I was one of you guys and thinking, you know what, maybe we'll go to Starkville. Maybe we'll get a place up there. Maybe it's our second home. Maybe it's our eventual retirement home. Portico's the way to go. Maybe it's your ball game weekend, retreat weekend. Maybe that's your stop. Maybe it's where you keep all your tailgating gear and rest your head at night. Maybe you can afford to have a second home. If you're going to do that, do it in Starkville. Make Portico your next move. And before we do that, let me give you Brooks' phone number. I would be remiss if I didn't do that. And if nothing else, maybe you can call and talk to him and just kind of learn a little bit more about your options while you're making some decisions. 601-416-8075. Again, 601-416-8075. Again, that's Portico. Make it your next move. All right, the Tulane Green Wave. We had quite the tussle with them last year when they came in here and could have very easily won the series. Braden Olthoff came out there on Friday night and as Chris Lemonis so eloquently said, kind of shoved it up our backsides, but or what do you say, shoved it up our rears. We go out there and have the umpires check him to make sure he's not doctoring the baseball. And he wasn't, or at least he wasn't caught doing it. But the reality of it is we battle back and we win the series and have a couple walk-offs there to do it. And I'm sure Tulane feels like, hey, you know what? We should have gotten those guys last year, and we didn't. We let them off the hook, and then they missed the tournament. Another winner of Mississippi State, they're probably in. So they're going to be kind of laying in wait for us. I think they're ready to go. But let's look at the Tulane year-to-date. They open up with our old friends from UMass Lowell, a 3-game sweep there at Greer Field at Turchin Stadium. Not giving up much in the way of runs in that series either. They then win at Nichols, and then last weekend they take 2 of 3 on the road in Ruston against Lane Burroughs and Louisiana Tech. They lose game 1, 6-1, bounce back to win 4-1, and then a 13-5 winner on Sunday. And if we give up 13 runs and with Cade Smith on the mound on Sunday, I'll be shocked. I submit to you, we have one of the better Sunday pitchers in the game. They destroy Southeastern Louisiana on Tuesday 23-1 and then beat Texas Southern last night 10-2. Now, they're playing a 5-game week too, kind of like we are. So that'll be interesting as we get into the weekend and we look at pitching depth. I don't think we're going to be out anybody. Maybe you don't throw Fristow, but we'll see how things progress. I'm sure they threw a lot of younger arms in that Southeastern Louisiana game. And then, of course, they beat Texas Southern last night. But 8-1 on the year. The long loss, of course, that Friday night game to Louisiana Tech. So where do things go from here? Well, we'll see. And this will be an ESPN Plus game. You will be able to watch that. There was some rumors last night that the Southern Miss game was going to be streamed. That was incorrect. I don't know how that got out there. It was wrong, according to Southern Miss officials. It did not come from them. But this is a huge, huge series for us. Could be a confidence maker for us or could have us going back to the drawing board. Let's take a quick look here at who is kind of getting it done for the Greenies down at the plate. Ethan Groff is a guy we played against last year. He's started all 8 games for them. Leads a team at this point in many statistical categories. Looking at their numbers here, it's 448. 448 for him. That's getting it done. 5 doubles, a triple, and a dinger. Not a lot of power in this lineup. Just 5 home runs on the year. It's early, though. Simon Baumgardt, another guy that we saw last year, hitting 429, and has kind of been a part-time starter for them. He's played in all 8 games, started just 2. He's a guy, too, that doesn't have a ton of at-bats under his belt, 7, so he's mainly a pinch hitter. He has walked a lot, though, which is interesting. 7 at-bats, and he has 5 walks. 3 hits. That'll get it done, right? Luis Aviles is a guy, too, that we know pretty well, too. 345. A guy that's getting it done as well. Is a bit of a threat to strike out, too, though. Has 8 Ks on the year. So we're going to see some familiar names. These are guys that this is a veteran team, which is one of the reasons they're winning at the level that they are. And granted, the competition outside of Louisiana Tech has not been stellar. They haven't necessarily played a difficult schedule, but they'll be focused and ready to go. Now, kind of looking at these numbers here on the pitching side of things, Dylan Carmouche, our friend Dylan Carmouche, played at Mississippi State. He transferred down there. He has been outstanding for them. 2-0 record, a 0.69 ERA. 2 appearances, 2 starts. One of those a complete game. 13 innings pitched, allowed just 8 hits and 1 run. 11 Ks against 2 strikeouts. Really liked him and was disappointed when he left. And we could certainly use him. But now he's down at Tulane working as a starter. And maybe perhaps that factored in the decision. Probably not going to start here, so let me go somewhere that I can. And he has been really good. And I'm confident that we'll see him this weekend. Looking to other guys on this group here, Carter Robinson is a guy, 10 innings pitched. 3 appearances for him, 2 starts. ERA of 0.90. 1-0 on the year. Allowed just 6 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, 7 Ks. Tyler Hoffman, that guy's been around a little bit too. 0-1 on the year, 2 starts, 9.1 innings pitched. So he's not going deep into ball games, which you don't expect a lot of people to at this point. Carmouche had the complete game shutout, which is kind of a rarity in college baseball these days. But 9 hits. 4 runs, 6 walks, 7 Ks. As a staff, 62 strikeouts and 25 walks. Carmouche is a guy that's actually propping that stat up a little bit. So they're not a huge swing and miss pitching staff, which, based on what we've seen from Mississippi State, something's got to give, right? Either they got to get some Ks or we got to get some hits. But they've allowed opponents to hit 232 against them. They're hitting 282, which is about 20 points higher than Mississippi State, maybe a little bit higher than that after last night. They're swinging the bats pretty well. Opponents have not pitched it well against them. Is that a product of the opponent's pitching staff, or is it indicative of how well Tulane has played offensively? Opponents allowing 7.34 earned runs a game. Interesting, right? They're giving up some big numbers. Of course, the Southeastern game, very gaudy in that score too, and a lot of those runs were earned. So again, it kind of skews the numbers just a little bit. But this is a team that is certainly capable of winning a series. It's a team that we're capable of beating. I know our play this week has not really fired up a lot of players, and I know that they are ready to maybe show who Mississippi State really is. This is a chance to go make that statement. This is a chance to not only show yourselves and your fan base and the nation that the Bulldogs are still for real. This is a chance to go do it. It's one of the hottest teams in the country. And Chris Lamona said as much last night. And again, early, it didn't really matter who you're playing, it's how you're playing. And we're not playing well, they are. So we could go down there and get swept. We could go down there and lose a series, or we're capable of going down there and flipping the field on them. Now, I submit to you, they have not played a pitching staff, at least the starters, like us. Landon Sims, was, in the cold weather last week, was not what he was in week 1. If we get a typical Landon Sims performance, you got a really good chance to win that Friday game. Saturdays are always a toss-up. And then, I look at Cade Smith. If Cade Smith can repeat what he's done on Sundays, we'll have a chance to win that game too. This is all going to boil down to, can Mississippi State put the baseball in play? Can we get hits? Can we do a better job at the plate? We're playing well defensively. And I think we're getting good enough starting pitching, especially on the weekends, to win these games. You win the series last week, and we all felt great on Monday. I say great. Maybe that's putting too fine a point on it. We knew Landon wasn't at his best, but we still should have won that game on Friday. You win the series, and you're thinking, hey, we've kind of found something with Preston Johnson. We feel like we've got something special with Cade Smith, and we know Landon will bounce back. So I'm not worried about our starting pitching this weekend. What I'm worried about is, are we going to have to win ball games 2-1, 3-1, that type of thing? They're going to have to go out there and score 4, 5, 6, 7 runs occasionally. And right now, there's not anybody in the lineup you look and say, okay, well, this is a guy that they have to pitch around to avoid the game getting a little bit lopsided. I still like our team. I don't like how we're playing. And I think that's maybe where all of you guys are too. I love Mississippi State, love Chris Lamonis, I love our players. I don't love how we're playing as of late. Now, one of the things I think might help us a little bit is we're going to see some velo this weekend. Yeah, I'm sure they'll mix and match a little bit, but we're going to see things that are kind of what we're it's difficult to simulate 75-mile-per-hour fastballs. And I guess I could go get some some trainer to throw on BP or something. But I think that we're going to see some pitching that we are probably more accustomed to. And we'll see how things kind of go from there. But it's a big weekend. I mean, it really is a big weekend. You go down there and you drop this series, and let's say you get swept. You start thinking about the postseason. Does that put State in a position that we're now scrambling to find a way to host? It is a long season. It is. But these are the weekends that stay with you in the end. These are the weekends when the NCAA College Baseball Selection Committee sits down. They're going to look at who you played out of your league and how did you do against them. This weekend I think is going to determine a lot. Now, let's be honest too. Princeton's coming in next weekend. If you see how the Ivy League's been playing, none of that's a gimme either. And Chris Lamonis is a guy too that's not scared to go on the road and play a difficult team. He went to Long Beach. We got Texas Tech coming in again. Now we're going to Tulane. And again, after last year, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, you begin to think, okay, well, we're not going to go down there and play. Of course, I'm sure that was a home and home agreed on to begin with. But it was a very contentious series. And it's one that I'm sure the Tulane people were lamenting later in the year, thinking, you know what, we had a chance to make this thing happen a year ago, and we didn't. We will get their best effort. And I say that all the time. We're going to get everybody's best effort. But I suspect that Tulane will have a little more gusto than maybe some of our other opponents. They finished 31-24 last year. You know, I'm looking at these numbers, you know, going back to last year, looking at some of these games that we played. You know, we scored 6 in the ninth in the Saturday game to win. It was 5-3 in the ninth, Tulane. And we scored 6 to win. You know, wasn't the walk-off grand slam, isn't that right? Yeah, no, it was Luke Hancock. Yeah, the walk-off grand slam to win the game. Pretty crazy, right? We had to walk them off in that game. And you know what happened on Sunday? Have you forgotten about that? It was another walk-off. Tanner Allen with the RBI single to walk it off. And if you remember in that ball game, we nearly gave it away in the ninth. It was a 3-2 game, and Spencer Price is in to close it out, and we give up a Oppo Taco out there to give them a lead. It's 4-3. And then we come back and score 2 in the ninth. And so we did what it took to win those games. But none of those games would you look back in hindsight and say, yeah, Mississippi State clearly looked like the national champions against Tulane. And I'm sure their staff is telling them exactly the same thing. Is, hey, you guys had the eventual national champs on the ropes last year and just couldn't finish. And so I'm sure they're telling them it's about execution. You know, our folks will say, well, you know what? We did what winning teams do. They find a way to win late, and we did. So both things can be true. But I do expect a very hostile environment down there. You know, I don't know what they're getting. Let's look real quick here before we get out of here. Let's just kind of look and see what kind of crowds they're getting. I know many of you will be there too. They haven't played the one weekend series at home. Let's go back and look at what opening day was, a 6:30 start. So they should have had an opportunity to get some good. 1,409 fans. Not a lot of big numbers. Let's look at Saturday. That was 11-0 ball game. 1,382. So it's not going to be like going to Baum, right? Or even going to Ole Miss. But we'll have some fans there. But the temperature of this ball game is going to be rather interesting. I don't think there's any question that we are going to have to give them our best effort in order to win, because they are a very talented team, and we're going to get their best effort. And probably it's going to boil down to who makes the big mistake. I'm sure you understand that too. It's just as simple as that. If we go out there and play up to our potential, we're going to win the ball game. Now, Friday, this is interesting too. We're going to have some warmer weather this weekend. Friday, the high in New Orleans is 79. The low is 52. Saturday, it's going to be in the low 80s. Same thing for Sunday. A chance of rain on Sunday as well. Some warmer temperatures, which is good for baseball, not just because you guys can come and get some sun and wear a short sleeve shirt, but the ball generally travels a lot better in warmer weather. So maybe it's a breakout weekend for us. Maybe it's a weekend we have to kind of begin to temper our expectations for this year. I just think this team has too much talent to continue to play at this level. So we'll see how things progress. I'm excited about it. I know you guys are as well. And we'll feel a whole lot better if we can go down there and win the series. And, I think expecting a sweep is probably too much. If you could get that, all of a sudden all is right in the world, and you've got a lot of juice heading to Biloxi for those 2 midweek games against a really good Texas Tech team. Lamont is very ambitious with the non-conference scheduling this year, which should prepare us for the SEC. And that's the thing you begin to ask. It's like, will we be battle-tested by the time we get there? I think we absolutely will. I don't think there's any question about it. It'd be nice to get back home, but I think we're going to learn a lot about our team here on this road trip. And Logan Tanner said last night, sometimes just kind of being together, this is a very close-knit team, but maybe kind of being together and focusing on baseball just as a group without all the other stuff that goes on when you're not going down to the Cotton District and that sort of stuff. You don't have people down there that are, chasing you around for autographs and taking pictures and things like that. The reality of it is this is the opportunity to really form some bonds here that'll probably sustain this team throughout the season. And my hope is we'll look back at this and say this was a defining week for the right reasons rather than the wrong reasons. Because if we keep dropping non-conference games, you're going to be chasing that the entire rest of the year. That will be a blight on our resume the rest of the year. And I remind you guys, too, back in 2016, we lost to Eastern Kentucky and Oral Roberts and won the SEC and ended up being a top 8 national seed. We didn't close the deal, but even though we pick up some bad losses early, the way that our league is structured, we can overcome that and still be a top 8 national seed. We just can't continue to take them. We can't keep stacking up losses. We're 5-4 right now, and we've got a chance to be 6-4 through 10 games. We have had some really good teams that have started out of the gate a little bit slow, and we've had some bad teams that have got off to a big start. I was looking at the numbers yesterday. 2015, we opened up 10-0, and then ended up with a losing record. And then we started the year, 5-5, and 18 ended up going to Omaha. So you never know. So, the snapshot of the first 10 games is not always truly indicative of how the season's going to turn out. So let's go win some ball games. We won't have to worry about that sort of stuff. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for your support. If you're looking for books, go to dogpilethebook.com. I will be at the Capitol Grill tonight from 5 to 7. That's it there in Howland Village, there in Jackson. And then on Monday, I'll be at Drusilla Seafood in Baton Rouge, Louisiana with the MSU Alumni Association. That's a 6 p.m. start. Be sure and check in with Michael or your local alumni reps. But this evening, 5 to 7 in Jackson, I'll stay there and then make the trek down to New Orleans tomorrow. Spend the weekend, and we'll see you fine folks there in Baton Rouge on Monday. I will bring the gear with me so we can record the show Sunday evening or a Monday morning, whatever's going on. Probably do it Monday morning. But excited to be back with you today. So, again, this is your Friday show, and it's really timely, too, because we had so much to talk about. So that's going to do it for today. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we'll make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.